What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 22. Last time out it was the Canadian Grand Prix and it could have gone better. It wasn't fantastic, but we were a lot closer to the chasing pack than we were in Baku. So it was an improvement, and I'm hoping we can continue that slight upward trajectory here in Britain. Perhaps we can get off the back row for a change and you know, team's home race and all that, so I'm hoping for a decent result for myself and Christian Lundgaard. That would be the ideal scenario here, but you know, obviously for me as a British driver, it would be very important for me to go well here, even if I don't quite get into the points. It would be nice to have a solid result just for my own morale, and also, you know, it would do a world of good for the team. It would do a world of good for our acclaim and reputation. And yeah, so anyway, we are currently just looking at some R&D upgrades, seeing if there's anything more we can put on the car, to which the answer is a resounding no, because we already have the maximum number of upgrades in progress for what we can do with our departments at the moment. Obviously there's going to be room to upgrade those. The next thing I'm going to be looking at doing is an engine department upgrade. I think the next thing I want to get is something that improves the number of simultaneous engine upgrades I can do, which I believe costs 2 million. And I know I have 2.4 million at the moment, but I'm trying to maintain a cash reserve because we're only 2 races away from the contract renewal, and I am quite keen on keeping Christian Lundgaard on for the second half of the season. So I will, in that case, need to pay him another, I believe it will be probably 2 million, but it could be slightly more than that. Depending on whether he levels up in acclaim again before the end of the Austrian Grand Prix, which I wouldn't rule out, but you know, it might not happen. It really depends how these races go for me and him.
Okay, now this is an interesting one.
So here it's asking me would I like to improve his focus or his experience, and whilst experience would give him more resource points, in the end I decided to go with improving his focus because I noticed that his focus was starting to dip a little bit. He's not been having a great run of results, and that seems to have put him back up into the green zone, so I'm hoping he can go well here at our home race here in Britain. And yeah, that's pretty much it for now. Just looking to see, and we do have a few more upgrades going on the car, and now it is time for the dreaded Pirelli hot lap. I'm really starting to find these a bit of a chore, but again, they are crucial really for the success of our team, to get that extra money. You know, over the course of the season, if you do all of them and get all of them in gold, that's an extra $2 million and 20,000 acclaim that you're earning that you'd be missing out on if you didn't do them. So that one was an average speed zone. I skipped through the whole thing, but you see I only got the silver. It was actually very difficult. I went offline after this and went away and did that one, and it took me a good like half hour to an hour to actually get the average speeds to where it needed to be. A very difficult challenge, but yeah, so silver, so $50,000, and a little bit of acclaim as well, but not as much as we could have got had we got gold. Now it's time to get into the race weekend proper, and yeah, I was feeling pretty good about this. I've actually I've started going online and using a difficulty calculator that someone's put on there. I've not changed my difficulty or anything like that. It's more to help me sort of anticipate how well I might do on a given race weekend before the race starts, so I don't get my hopes up like I did with Baku, where I thought Baku was going to go really, really well, and then it went really, really poorly because of the way that the AI and everything is set up there. Yeah, you know, I found that immensely frustrating, and so I'm kind of just approaching every race weekend with this sort of mentality of, you know, don't get your hopes up too much and just see where things go, and try and do what you can in every race weekend. But obviously sometimes it's just not going to be possible to really achieve anything. So yeah, that was something that made me a bit more optimistic about this race weekend, because on the difficulty calculator thing that I was looking at, it said that like 89, which is what I'm on at the moment, was a bit low compared to my outright pace at Britain. So we'll see if that rings true as we get into the race weekend. As Carlos Sainz putting on his helmet, he's been having a great run of form recently, and he definitely is emerging as one of the probably the 3 championship protagonists, I would say, alongside Leclerc and Russell. But obviously, the likes of Hamilton, Perez, and Verstappen can definitely get back into that fight as well. Here we are looking at my tyre management practice program that I did over the course of the weekend. I thought I'd show you a lap from practice because I haven't, I keep skipping through those, and I think it's important that you know that I am still practicing. And yeah, the pace that I had, at least in this tyre practice program, actually, all things considered, pretty good. And also my tyre wear was very low as well. I wasn't really even having to do that much to manage the tyres. Obviously I was doing a little bit of I wasn't maybe turning in as sharply as I usually would, but I was still well below the delta and well below the tyre delta as well, I guess you could call it. I don't really know what else you would describe it as. Expected tyre wear, I guess, would be a way of putting it. And yeah, that was pretty solid. We're already up into the sort of optimal region, and we've still got a lot of the lap left to improve it further. So yeah, this was really optimistic signs for at least, maybe there was something we could do with strategy. Perhaps we'd be able to start on a set of softs or something to that description, but obviously that remains to be seen as we get into the race weekend. And we've also got to do the race strategy practice program, because this could be misleading compared to what our actual tyre wear is like. But nonetheless, it's a pretty good lap. It's into the 132s, which is good for a medium tyre practice program when I'm not pushing that much. I'd sort of be wanting to aim to be in the sort of 130s, maybe 129s, something to that description. So yeah, you see my average tyre wear much lower than expected, and also my race pace was pretty good. You could see it was like over a second a lap on average, slower, or faster rather.
Let's see our top 3 again. Leclerc, Verstappen, and Carlos Sainz. And that's it, practice is officially over. Until next time, goodbye.
So yeah, there you see Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz all doing very well in that practice program, already into the 129s, so they'll probably be into the 127s by the time the race weekend, or by the time that qualifying is over. So we got quite a few development boosts getting on the car now, mostly chassis related things, which is decent because we do want to take a lot of the weight out of the car to allow us to move in a straight line faster and all that good stuff. But ideally, like I said, I think it's engine performance, particularly the battery, that I really would like to focus on, because at the moment it's just draining so unbelievably quickly, and that's going to be really detrimental to our being able to battle with the cars around us who seemingly have infinite battery lives, or insane traction out of corners compared to us. We need everything we can get on the car, even if it comes with the caveat of making my second driver world champion instead of me someday. That's good enough for me. As long as one of my drivers, if it's me or someone else, wins the championship, obviously I'd like it to be me. But, this is a team sport. At the end of the day, I own the team, and it's a my team career mode, not a my driver career mode. So, yeah, I would be happy regardless of who wins the championship. Here we're just going through and getting some more upgrades on the car. Everything we can afford now that we had a few come through in time for the race weekend. Really, we just want to be getting as many upgrades on the car as quickly as possible. That's the MO here. Just as many upgrades as we can. We're already through like a third of the aero upgrades, and slowly what's happening is we're actually running out of upgrades to do without upgrading the facility spec. So yeah, that's going to be critical if we want to go further. And now we're ready to get into qualifying for the British Grand Prix, and this is going to be an absolutely pivotal session. Because, as I'm sure you've seen, in the race weekend, or in the actual race rather, it's very, very difficult for me to compete with the cars around me. But in qualifying, obviously there's no cars around me, and I can just, do what I do. First lap's a 1:29.8, and then I immediately go off track, but it's fine because I already set the time. So, I was pretty happy with that, especially because I knew that there was more pace I could extract from that lap. You know, I went wide in a couple of places, and perhaps I didn't turn as optimally as I could in others. And you see that on my second flying lap, I improved by 4 tenths, and it's a 1:29.3, and it's good enough for 13th. So we are through to Q2 for the first time since Spain, I believe. Did we get through to Q2 in Spain? I'm pretty sure we did. So yeah, that was a pretty solid result, all things considered, and yeah, it means we're through to Q2. So no complaints on this side of the garage. Unfortunately, on the other side of the garage, as you're about to see, it was only P22 for Christian Lundgaard. He was back of the pack, and by some margin, we outqualified him by nearly 3 seconds. You know, I feel pretty good about that, and honestly, I gotta say, it feels like a bit of a victory almost compared to these past few races where we've just been made Lundgaard's bitch the whole time. So here we are on my first flying lap of Q2, and the reason I'm showing you this one is because I think it's probably the best lap I set during qualifying. Well, actually, objectively speaking, it was the best lap I set during qualifying. It was the fastest of the lot. I won't spoil all the time, but yeah, I feel like I drove very well. You know, I was nailing all of the corners, nailing all of the braking points. I know that the braking points should be, and the corners, granted, should be fairly easy when you're, you know, playing with the racing line on, but you've still got to actually extract the actual performance, which, you know, it can be easier said than done. Just because you've got the line on the screen doesn't mean you're necessarily following it, and just because you're following it doesn't mean you're necessarily following it well. You know, I know people who can play with racing line on and they'll struggle against sort of 60 AI, and then there's people who can play with it on and they'll be able to do what I can do and sort of mix it up against 90 tier AI. So it really just depends on your driving style and your driving ability, and you know, how sharply and quickly you can take corners. So yeah, it was a very strong lap, probably one of the better laps I've driven in a while, and yeah, I was pretty pleased with this in the end. As you see, we're just rounding the final corners there. I've forgotten the names of them, but yeah, it was good enough for another 1:29.3, just slightly faster than the lap I set in Q1, but probably one of the best laps I've ever driven around Silverstone. Actually, you know, this is a track I typically am alright at. I'm not like amazing at it or anything like that, but I do pretty well. And then at the end of Q2, you see I didn't improve, but nonetheless, it was good enough for P7. We're through to Q3. How on earth have we done that with the worst car on the grid by a long shot? So yeah, both Red Bulls out. They did not improve on their initial runs, I guess. Also, Ricciardo is out, which was quite surprising to see. And Bottas only 15th, pretty surprising too. Both, no, not both Hasses, just Mick Schumacher actually. I think Kevin Magnussen was knocked out in Q1. So yeah, a bit of a jumble, all things considered. But I mean, you know, it's the chaos under which we thrive. So yeah, here we are at the end of Q3. And, well, I only had one set of tyres left, so I left it right till the end of the session to do a run. And basically it started raining as I went out, and so the track probably was a little bit less optimal than I would have liked. So it was only a 1:29.6, but it was good enough for P9, because Leclerc, for whatever reason, didn't set a time.
Of our top three, Sainz, Hamilton and George Russell. With qualifying wrapped up now, we have our grid lineup for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
But you know, I'm confident we can make something happen during the race. You know, I'm pretty capable when it comes to Britain. There's a lot of corners, a lot of high-speed corners, which is going to be good for our car, which, you know, is aerodynamically actually quite fast. It's just in the straights that we're lacking, and also in the sort of low-speed corners, which is probably why we suffered so much at Monaco, because there's a lot of low-speed rotation there. Maybe our car wasn't set up fantastically for it as well. You never know. But I guess we'll find out next year if I use a different setup. But for now, yeah, that's P9 that we'll be starting for our home race. P9 and P22. Big discrepancy between myself and Lundgaard. I think, yeah, my best time in Q2 was legitimately almost 3 seconds faster than him. But now let's get into the race.
Silverstone circuit for today's Grand Prix. Straddling the border of Northamptonshire and Buckinghamshire, the 18 corners of Silverstone Circuit form the 3.6-mile beating heart of Formula One. It's been reinvented over the years, with Turn 1 now the fast right-hander of Abbey, but the magic of racing is as strong here as it's ever been. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. It's Carlos Sainz in pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Norris, Fernando Alonso, and Mick Schumacher. Gasly, Tsunoda, Robinson, and Charles Leclerc. Ocon, Ricciardo, Max Verstappen, and Bottas. Stroll, Joe, Kevin Magnussen, and Nicholas Latifi. Albon, Vettel, Lundgaard, and Sergio Perez completes our grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the run down into Turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
I know this is your home Grand Prix, but treat it like any other race. Let's not make any unnecessary risks.
No, I don't think I will. Yeah, so here we are on the formation lap, getting ready to get into the race, and we've got two AlphaTauris and Schumacher ahead of us, so I think we might be able to contend with them, but we're going to have a very good start. And we've also got Leclerc and both Red Bulls starting the race behind us. I believe Perez took a penalty, so it will just be Verstappen initially, but we will have a difficult time keeping all of them behind as we come back to the grid. And I didn't get the memo or something, because they were all very wide until it was right about time for them to get back into their grid slots. Boom, 0.8. Not bad, not bad. So the rest of the grid's lining up, and now it is time for the lights to come on. And the lights go out, and here we go. So we get a pretty good launch, and we're already alongside Tsunoda as we run down into Turn 1. But yeah, we go a bit wide, and that completely compromises our run and lets Leclerc through basically immediately. But honestly, it's not a bad thing, because I don't think I would have been able to contend with him anyway. But we do get back through, and we try and go for a move up the around the outside of Tsunoda, but he sees it coming and covers us off, and then Leclerc eventually makes it through with that supreme traction that the AI gets in every single race. And yeah, that's enough to bring my challenges with the Ferrari to a close. Now I got to worry about the likes of Ricciardo behind me, who is on soft compound tyres, so if I can keep him behind, it will be nothing short of miraculous. As we come down the run towards Copse, he's very close. I'm having to burn pretty much all my battery to keep him behind at the moment, and he's still closing me down as we go around Copse, and I have to get out of the throttle there, because we simply don't have the downforce to take that corner flat out yet. But someday. And then here we are going through the Maggots and Beckett section as we come down towards the Hangar Straight, and yeah, Gasly and Leclerc and Tsunoda have already lost us by quite a significant margin, but perhaps as we come through, I'm getting there, we will be able to catch up with them. And someone's into the pits, and I believe that is Fernando Alonso, who I guess must have some kind of front wing damage or something to that description, because he is into the pits. And yeah, that will spell the end of probably his chances of scoring points in this race, because he will need to pit at least one more time, whereas most people are on a one stop. And yeah, I'm just trying to contend with these guys. Sonoda, I think, went a bit wide there, which allowed Gasly to get more of a look back in on him. And well, I guess some things are not as fictitious as they may potentially seem, because Sonoda and Gasly were battling all the way through the British Grand Prix in real life last weekend, and it looks like they're doing something pretty similar here in Britain in my F1 22 career mode playthrough. In fact, it's allowed me to catch up to the back of Gasly. I'm already about 5/10 behind him instead of the second I was behind him at the end of lap 1. So clearly I've got the pace to stick with these guys, especially when they're sparring with one another. I'm using a lot less battery this lap, and I'm still managing to just about keep Ricciardo behind. I think I have much superior pace to these guys through Maggots and Beckett's, but I didn't get a great run there into the hangar straight, so I had to burn quite a lot of battery to contend with these guys. You see Gasly's going for a move up the inside of Sonoda. They go wheel to wheel, but he doesn't quite make it work as I go over the track because I'm so engrossed in what's going on between their battle in front. Their battling has allowed me to catch up a little bit. I try and go around the outside of Gasly, but once again, traction, it's just not happening. It just ain't happening, bro. So DRS is enabled, and this is going to allow me to have a slightly easier time of keeping Ricciardo behind. Not a fantastic time of keeping him behind, because obviously he'll have DRS, and Verstappen and Ocon behind him will also have DRS. So I'm still going to need to have my wits about me, and that is just... Look at the getaway that Gasly gets there. You know, he's making up multiple tenths on me through there. As we go through Brooklands, and we just about hang it around the outside of Daniel Ricciardo. Makes no sense because he's on soft tyres. Only thing I can think of is maybe those soft compound tyres are going off already on lap 3. It's not impossible because softs this year have really proven to be more of a qualifying tyre and not a race tyre whatsoever. And because they've scrapped that rule where you have to start on your qualifying tyre if you make it through Q3, it's made it so soft compound tyres just really aren't something people use very often. Because they go off so quickly. We get a shocking exit from Maggots and Beckett's there, and here you see Max Verstappen's now right over the back of us because he gets a great exit. He goes up our inside as we get into Stowe. Will we be able to hang around the outside of a Red Bull? Let's find out. Yes, we do. And then he dives into the pits, so I guess he had some kind of front wing damage prior to that battle, which just goes to show how much faster the Red Bull is compared to us. But it makes sense, they're like the first or second fastest car on the grid at the moment, maybe third, I'm not sure. Which means, yeah, it's to be expected. As we come on to lap 4 now, and as we go through Abbey, we just about keep Ricciardo behind still. But this is an absolutely relentless battle, not only between Sonoda and Gasly, but also between me and Ricciardo. Ricciardo's desperate to find his way into 9th position, and I am not affording it to him. As we come down the, is this now called the Sir Lewis Hamilton Straight? I think it is, but I could be wrong about that. As we get into Brooklands, Ricciardo actually locks up there and goes onto the grass, and this allows me to get away a little bit, and that is going to provide me with some respite for maybe a lap or two. As you see behind Ricciardo, Sergio Perez is already up into the points-paying positions as we're now on lap 5, and as we come onto the Hamilton Straight, that is a safety car that has been called. It's not clear why, because there haven't been any retirements, and there will not be any retirements as a result of this, like what's going on with the safety car that I can see. And then as we get a bit deeper into lap 5, if you have a look at the pit entry, you will see that a lot of cars dive in there. I believe that is everyone who started on the soft compound tyres. So this was a really good opportunity for everyone who started on soft compound tyres. For me on the mediums, you know, I can't do 20 laps on the hards, and so it doesn't really make much sense for me to come into the pits yet. But yeah, that will mean that it is going to be much harder to keep some of these cars behind. All I'm going to hope is that the cars behind me, the likes of Bottas, Stroll and Vettel, can keep behind the soft compound runners until they need to pit again. So there I was checking, because I heard Lundgaard had come into the pits. I was checking what tyre he was on, and he is on fresh softs, which means he will be pitting at least once more, which leads me to believe that all of the cars that came in will be pitting again in this race. So we haven't really lost too much, but if we get overtaken by any of these guys who've pitted, we will have lost something, because, yeah, we basically still have the same number of pit stops as them. So we're still racing for position as far as I'm concerned. And now the safety car has ended and we are back racing once again. We get a pretty good getaway, but we've got Bottas behind us, who we're going to have a bit of a task keeping behind us. He's very highly rated in this game, and he's also in a faster car than us, so yeah, it's going to be tricky, but we'll see what we can do. Sonoda gets a great getaway there as we get onto the Hamilton straight, and this is just one of the places where the AI is just, you know, absolutely supreme compared to us, and we will not be able to contend with them. So we need places like this, like Luffield, where you see I close him down massively to be able to contend with him. But yeah, obviously he gets supreme traction out of there. As we fast forward to lap 10, and Bottas challenges me going into Brooklands here. We hang it around his outside, and we just about manage to hold on to the position still. But he might have another go at us down into Copse, because we are, you know, he is massively close behind, you see there, and he is going to have the superior traction coming around here. As you see, as we go down on the run to Copse, he's going to pull out to the left, and there's Max Verstappen, or maybe Sergio Perez. I think it's Perez, actually, just behind him. So, yeah, we're going to have a really difficult task keeping these guys behind. As we go through Maggots and Beckett's, we ride sort of, kind of on the wing of our car, I guess. Well, I guess on the side pod is what you'd call it. And yeah, we managed to keep these guys behind as we're burning a lot of battery. It is Verstappen behind Bottas, actually. We're managing to just about hold these guys off, but it's going to be a significant challenge to keep them behind for 16 more laps if we want to stay in this position. So yeah, I'm gonna have a real time of things. Verstappen pits again. I don't know if that's because his tyres have finally gone off. I think he's been on them since lap like 3 or something like that, so it would make sense. We approach the pit window, and yeah, we're going to be doing half the race on softs and half the race on mediums and half the race on hards. So it's yeah, it's going to be tricky going forward from here, because I think we're going to be on hards, while a lot of the cars around us will maybe try and do soft medium because they can do that. So that is yeah, that is going to be really difficult for us to contend with in the back half of this race if we want to stay in this points position. But we've been doing a fantastic job of holding it so far. Every place, you know, Stowe and Brooklands where they can overtake us, we've been holding on. So yeah, we've had a number of ERS glitches, DRS glitches over the course of the season so far. So yeah, there's no reason to believe that it wouldn't be anything more than that. We had something like that in Monaco. I think we had something like that in Baku possibly as well. I can't remember. There was something to that degree in Spain as well as in Imola. You know, we had a number of problems going on. So yeah, I wasn't too concerned about that. You know, obviously our only failure so far has been Jeddah, but it is a mechanical failure. Oh, fuck.
Okay, this is serious. We need you to retire as soon as possible.
That one hurts. And it really, really hurt at the time. I just... You know, finally we've got a bit of pace in the car. Finally we're contending with the cars in front of us. And, yeah. Engine failure. Simple as. You know, that Renault powertrain has been surprisingly reliable compared to what we were used to. But, yeah. No, it, just couldn't manage it. Couldn't manage it. Whenever we're running in the points, the engine just gives up. That's what it seems like to me. And, yeah.
Ferrari, it hardly looks in doubt. So, Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
Well, when you overtake that many people, I'd certainly hope you'd win the race. Their car was really effective in the slipstream here today, and the team would be pleased that they didn't cook the engine, given how long they were spending in the hot air behind their cars. They had a lot of confidence to push their tyres hard as well, especially going into the corners, which will have some late braking and some exciting passes.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari, do it again.
So yeah, that is Leclerc P1, and I believe Hamilton P2 maybe, and Sainz P3, or maybe the other way around. Maybe it's Sainz P2, Hamilton P3, I think. Yeah. So yeah, good result, especially for Leclerc, who started P10, to get all the way back to the win is pretty solid. And gutting for Sainz, who obviously started on pole position. But yeah, maybe that's the comeuppance for what happened with Sainz and Leclerc at the real life British Grand Prix.
It's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Carlos Sainz extends his lead at the top, getting ever closer to securing the championship. Now, let's discuss out. Who would you say is a contender for Driver of the Day?
Well, you can't fault anything that Sergio Perez did out on the track today. He drove flawlessly, making him an easy pick.
It's time to check out the Constructors' standings. Ferrari continue to extend the gap at the top of the table. There was also a strong showing from the McLaren team today as they make their way up the standings. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out? Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement of Formula One.
So not only was it a DNF for us, it was also a DNF for Christian Lundgaard. That is a double DNF for Jaguar Racing. Pretty brutal scenario. Carlos Sainz assumes the leadership of the table once again. So yeah, pretty solid result for him, and George Russell only got P4. So yeah, the race at the top is really getting tight, as that would have been an awesome opportunity for us to get one over on Vettel, but it's going to have to wait a little bit longer. Next up is the Austrian Grand Prix. I think we're going to struggle there because that is a track that primarily favours straight line speed. Lundgaard loses a bit of acclaim, which is bad in the sense that it means he's got less acclaim, but good in the sense that it means we'll find it easier to re-sign him. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please make sure you like and subscribe, and maybe leave some comments saying what you like and what you don't like. And yeah, hopefully I will see you in the next one.